This video is brought to you by OddsJam. They have the best tools out there for arbitrage betting, which is like betting both sides of a coin. It's going to come up heads or tails, so you win either way. Every sportsbook has different odds, and OddsJam tracks all these odds so that you know exactly what games to bet and how much to bet so that you will always come out on top completely stress-free by playing both sides. It's not betting so much as it is math. I'm already up over $1,200 after 10 days just using their calculator and doing exactly what it says, not having lost once despite placing hundreds of bets in that time frame. One of those was during the Eagles-Saints game, as I bet both sides on whether Rashid Shaheed would score a touchdown, and came away with a nice profit as a result. And there have been moments that I pounced on arbitrage odds like these, where you can turn a 20% to 30% profit completely stress-free. OddsJam's tool makes everything one click away, and there are hundreds of bets like that every single day based on the sports books available in your area. If you do exactly as they say, you will literally always come out ahead, just as I have. If you sign up now using my promo code JG9, not only do you get a 7-day free trial, and not only does it help the channel out a lot, but you get 25% off your first month. Link in the description. So sign up for OddsJam today, where the odds will be in your favor. One of the beauties of the NFL is that, theoretically, any team has a chance any given year to win it all. Any team has a chance to go all the way and be named the champions of the league. There's a lot of leagues where you can't say that in. Outside of Leicester City in 2016, when's the last time you were truly shocked by a Premier League champion? We've seen champions in the NFL come out of nowhere time and time again. From the Philadelphia Eagles in 2017, to the St. Louis Rams in 1999, to the New England Patriots in 2001, even though they started 0-2, to one of the greatest underdog stories of all time, and a team that no one gave any chance of winning at all, with that team, of course, being the 2023 Kansas City Chiefs. That one shocked everyone. All kidding aside, especially after 1 week, it's way too early for a team to give up and throw in the towel and say that they won't win the championship. Of course, there are teams that have better odds than others. But the first week of the season is, well, the first week of the season. And there is still an entire season left to be played where anything can happen. That's the beauty of football. And that's the beauty of this sport. And if you like learning more about the beauty of football, then this is the place for you, because we post every single day about the weird and wacky history of this beautiful sport. So if you like that sort of stuff, then be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel, because we post every single day on here. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. So I want you to imagine a coach completely throwing in the towel after 1 game. Imagine the first game of the season being so disastrous without any catastrophic injuries that the coach says, after 1 game, yeah, we're not winning the championship. And I don't mean that there's a second part to the quote, where the coach says, we're not winning the championship if we keep playing like this, or if we put that kind of effort out there. And I don't mean that the coach was showing any lick of sarcasm whatsoever. I meant that the coach said, quite simply, that this team, after 1 week, wasn't winning a championship. Well, with the man you've been watching this whole time, a New York Giants head coach Ali Sherman, after an opening loss to the Dallas Cowboys in 1965, that's exactly what happened. Because after 1 game against the Cowboys, the Giants threw in the towel and said, in essence, yeah, we're not doing anything this year. That's how bad the Cowboys defeated them and demoralized them. And this is the story behind the time that the New York Giants, simply put, gave up. Before I talk about the actual incident in question, we need some context to understand just how the game against the Cowboys in question was going that led Ali Sherman to make those remarks after the game. It's September 19th, 1965. It's opening day of a brand new NFL season, and we head down to the Cotton Bowl for this battle between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. This is a battle between two teams that were not all that good in 1964. While the Cowboys were still struggling to find their footing after 5 seasons in the NFL and finished the 1964 campaign with a 5-8-1 record, the Giants, fresh off of 3 consecutive NFL championship appearances from 1961 to 63, completely collapsed in 1964 to have one of the worst seasons by any defending finalist ever, finishing at 2-10-2 and finishing with the worst record in football. They went from nearly first to worst. Still, this was a brand new season, and the Giants had the Cowboys' number in previous meetings, having lost just one of their last 6 times, and having never lost down at the Cotton Bowl. Even though the Cowboys were favored to win this one, the Giants had a chance if they played well. They had a new quarterback in the fold in Earl Morrall, who you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner, and who was a former Pro Bowler and was 2 years removed from finishing 4th in the NFL with 24 touchdown passes for the Detroit Lions in 1963. They had some help at running back with Tucker Frederickson, the number 1 pick in the 1965 NFL draft out of Auburn, who everyone was super high on. And they had some great players, like 5-time Pro Bowl safety Jimmy Patton, 5-time Pro Bowl wideout Del Schaffner, and Hall of Fame tackle and 9-time Pro Bowler Rosie Brown, who were in the fold. In other words, the Giants were not necessarily an awful team on paper. And if they could get off to a good start with a win against a Cowboy team that they usually had success against, then maybe this season could be different and a stark contrast from that disastrous 1964 season. Instead, it was anything but that. Because while the good news for the Giants is that they scored 2 points and got a safety, the bad news was that they allowed 31, as the Cowboys won the game by a final score of 31-2, making it the second and to date the last time in NFL history that a game ended 31-2. Everything about this game for the Giants was ugly with a capital U, as you can probably expect when you lose by 29 points and lose by 5 possessions, since the 2-point conversion did not exist in the NFL in 1965. To give you an idea of how bad this game was, not only did the Giants trail 17-0 at the halftime break, but Earl Morrall was 1 for 8 in the first half with 8 yards. On the day, Morrall went 6 for 21, completing 28% of his passes for 63 yards while getting sacked 4 times for 35 yards, meaning that the Giants' starting quarterback finished the game with 28 net passing yards. He threw no touchdowns and 2 interceptions and posted a passer rating of 0.0, which is what your rating would be if you just didn't even show up. Legitimately, you cannot do worse than a 0.0, as there are no negative numbers with this kind of stuff. Morrall started 102 games in his career, and would win MVP of the NFL a few years after this game with the Baltimore Colts. This was the second time, and the last time in his career, that he finished the game with a passer rating of 0.0. It was that bad. And it only gets worse, as you can probably expect by watching all of these lowlights. The Giants finished the game with just 139 yards of total offense, compared to 270 for the Cowboys, with the Cowboys doubling the Giants in total yardage. New York turned it over 4 times and lost the turnover battle by 3, which is never going to bode well for you if you lose the turnover margin by that much. Whereas the Cowboys had 19 first downs, the Giants had just 8, or 2 per quarter, meaning that the Giants had roughly 2 first downs for every 5 that the Cowboys had. New York put the ball on the ground 5 times. New York's offensive line got destroyed, with their quarterbacks getting sacked a combined 5 times. And the Giants had no answers in the secondary for the speed of future Hall of Fame wideout Bob Hayes, who had a touchdown grab from 45 yards out and had another grab of 37 yards. From the opening kickoff, this was one of those games where the Giants never had a chance. And at no point during this contest did anyone think for 1 second that the Giants were going to put up a fight. So after a loss like that, what the heck do you say to the press? Especially the New York press, which has your head on a stake the moment you start losing games. Well, for Ali Sherman, he wasn't ready to hit the panic button after 1 game. Someone asked Sherman if he was worried about the Giants after this game, and he said, "We just have to work like any new ball club. We started with 6 new men in the defensive lineup, 4 of them rookies. We had 4 new men on the offensive team. I'm not alibying. It was our choice, but it will take time for this club to gel." Alright, that's a perfectly reasonable answer. No issues there. It was a rough game, and no one in their right mind would deny that, especially after witnessing that performance firsthand. But there were some new pieces in there, and some growing pains, even after a long preseason, are going to happen. And this club will be better as the season goes on, once everyone gels and knows their roles and their assignments and gets chemistry with each other. And if that was where Allie Sherman decided to stop, then there is no story here. That's just generic coach speak and a perfectly sound answer that you hear over any era of football. If that was where Allie Sherman ended his story, then I would not be making this video. But then, like the Energizer Bunny, this man right here, Allie Sherman, decided to keep going. And what he said next? Oh no. Because after just one game, he decided to say something that you never hear any coach say after 1 week. Because with 13 games left in the season, Allie Sherman was throwing in the towel and was giving up. Because as Sherman said, we're not panicky. What the hell have we got to get panicky about here? We're not a championship club. That's right. The New York Giants, after one game, had already waved the white flag on the 1965 season. Don't expect the Giants to do anything of note. We're not making the championship or winning it. We won't come close to making it. He didn't say that it's going to be an uphill climb. He didn't say that they're going to need to play better to play at a championship level. And he didn't say that there are more talented teams on paper than they are. He flat out said that the Giants were not going to win the championship after just one game. There is so much that's insane about this statement that I don't even know where to begin. Number one, an 0-1 start is not a death sentence. An 0-1 start is an 0-1 start. Nothing more, nothing less. You can still do things after starting the season with a loss. Granted, the NFL was different back then, and it was way harder to make the playoffs. You had to win your division to make it. So if you started 0-3, that was a death sentence compared to today, where you actually still have a chance. Heck, just last year in 1964, the Baltimore Colts made it to the NFL Championship after starting 0-1. In 1962, your own team, the New York Giants, made it to the NFL Championship after starting 0-1. As despite losing 17-7 in Week 1 to the Cleveland Browns, you were able to bounce back and make it to the championship. In 1961, both the Giants and Packers started the year off with an 0-1 record. Want to know who played in the NFL Championship that year? That's right, the Giants and the Packers. And the year before that, in 1960, both the Packers and Eagles started the season off with an 0-1 record. Want to know who played in the NFL Championship that year? That's right, the Eagles and the Packers. It's one thing to say a statement like that after starting 1-6, but after starting 0-1 and before playing a single home game? Come on. But number two, and maybe most importantly, even if you're probably right, and even if the odds of the Giants win the championship aren't the best, why on earth would you say that? If you're this man right here in Allie Sherman, what kind of message does that send? What's the point? I'm sure the players who trained all offseason and believe in themselves are going to love the fact that they have a coach that doesn't believe in them. I'm sure the players are really going to give it their all for a coach who doesn't see how this team can do anything. And I'm sure the fans are going to be incredibly eager to buy tickets at a time when much of the revenue across the league was gate-driven, when the coach is a man who is flat out saying that the games you attend this season will not matter, because it's not as though we'll be competing for a ring. No reason to spend your money and get invested this year. We're not winning at all. Again, the message. What on earth are you doing here? No wonder people wanted Allie Sherman gone and were singing Goodbye Allie at every game at Yankee Stadium. Not only did the fans think that the Giants were going nowhere, but even Allie Sherman thought that and openly admitted it. Way to give up after just one freaking game. And what's particularly odd and funny about the comments made after the game by Allie Sherman between these two teams behind me right here is the fact that the Giants were not a bad football team in 1965. Not in the slightest bit. They finished the season tied for second place in the division with a 7-7 record, as even though the Cleveland Browns won it at 11-3, the Giants at 7-7 were in second place, tied with, oddly enough, the Dallas Cowboys. In fact, if the Giants beat the Cowboys on the final week of the season, the Giants would have made the playoff bowl as the second place representative out of the East, which was the runner-up game back then that they had for about a decade, and it wasn't really a hit. Having said that, the fact that the Giants came in second, yeah, I think Ali Sherman was probably the most surprised by that because he had no expectations for this team whatsoever. Look, keeping realistic expectations is one thing, but there is a massive, and I truly mean it, a massive difference between keeping realistic expectations and throwing in the towel, especially with 13 games left to go. If you're playing a game of Monopoly, on your first roll, you don't get a chance to buy property because you landed on a chance card and you have to pay $25 to the bank, you don't throw in the towel and say, well, we're not winning this game today. There's still the entire game left to play. And for whatever reason, Ali Sherman did not view things the same way. For whatever reason, after one loss to the Cowboys during the opening game of the year, Sherman was ready to concede defeat on the season and move on to 1966. Because in 1965, according to their own head coach, the New York Giants were a giant waste of time and space. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot, and check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.